Hello everyone, my name is TheMadScorpyon and welcome to Destiny 2 Into the Light. Now, of course, it is launched. You may not note it throughout the world, but of course it is active. It has its own unique tab you can find right here in the destinations menu right here, with of course access to the new Whisper version of the exotic quest, the Hall of Champions social space onslaught playlist, as well as the more serious onslaught mode right here. Goes all the way to 50 waves as opposed to the casual 10 waves. But aside from that, that brief intermission, of course, you will be dropped right into the new social space when you get into it. But aside from that, it's pretty quick. Do around, do some things, complete a quest. But more on that in a different video I already have up by the time this video goes live. But getting into the rest of the world, of all things, there is a Gambit Booster currently active for your rank up things. So, you know, it's Gambit. There you go. And for the Vanguard, the Grandmaster is the birthplace of the Vial, which after rerunning it wasn't as nearly bad as I remember it being. Of course, the final boss is a bit of a hazard, being a Void Sniper, as always. But, of course, the modifiers being all three elemental shields, unstoppable and overload champions, because it is all Scorn pretty much. Void threat for incoming void damage being increased. The usual Grandmasters, extinguish, limited revives, empath for increased melee damage, and chaff for no radar. And then the usual seasonal overcharge, strand and solar, and overcharge fusion rifle. Now, like I said, this one is not so hard of one compared to the variety of other Nightfalls on the list. So if you wish to actually farm out the Braytech Osprey, you could do worse. While Braytech Osprey isn't exactly one I'd say is worth farming, there is some nutty rolls that you can get with it. I don't think it's the best damage version. Of course, it is an adept rocket launcher, which is always a nifty thing when it comes to just extra perks. So if you want to claim it, go for it. Otherwise, I'd say you could just kind of vibe and just leave it behind. Then getting into the rest of the world, of course, with Crucible, there is going to be trials this weekend as there is no Iron Banner. More on that later. But then Rift is our current rotation quick play with normal control as well as checkmate survival for all of our rotations and showdown in the 3v3 quick play area. Now from that point, of course, like I mentioned, Into the Light is going, and I think there is actually two separate exotic missions, if you noted. There is Presage that's currently active down here, and I guess for a while, the Whisper will be in this tab for Into the Light, which, in case you're wondering, is free to everyone, so there isn't any worry about, can I have access without, like, Nightfall or the Final Shape or anything. But like I said, it is currently Presage, which means there is Season of the Haunted or Season 17, a lot of the old Menagerie weapons or the Haunted weapons, as well as the Dead Man's Tale mission, in case you want to grind that out for bits of Dead Man's Tale. Then our weekly farming raid is actually the King's Fall raid, which of course as usual means all active challenges. Master mode is once again available, and you do get disciplined focused armor from the master mode. But it is, like always, a random drop adept if you do manage to complete challenge modes on master. From that respect as well with Crota's End, if you complete the second encounter challenge at Precarious Balance, and do it on Master, which is recovery focused for Master Crota, you could also get access to the Adept Crota's End weaponry, with the usual modifiers Strand and Solar, and Overcharged Trace Rifle, which might be useless, frankly, because aside from Divinity, who's using Trace Rifles in that dungeon? I just realized I said dungeon by instinct because it's Crota's End. But going out through the rest of the world, of course, with the Dares of Eternity, aka Into the Light version 1, you do have for the Legends mode Cabal, Tegan, and Crota for the rotations there. And I am going to stop covering the coil because there is not much difference there. And like I mentioned, I'm going to at least cut down to a few of the raids that do have just red borders. For Root of Nightmares, it is Cosmic Equilibrium Challenge, aka Third Encounter Challenge. And while we're on Neomuna, Vex Incursion Zone is Zephyr Concourse as well. It does mean it is the backdoor Vex mission for the Partition. And the weekly mission to farm is No Time Left, which I believe is the second to last mission where Rohan ends up going poof. For the Deepstone Crypt, while we are here, its current active challenge is Copies of Copies, which is the Atrax challenge. For the Vow of the Disciple raid, it is currently the Looping Catalyst, which is Rolk challenge. Pretty easy one. Literally just don't mess up and you can finish it. Then for the Dreaming City, we currently have which I still forget which that is. And that is all of them, if I am thinking of all the right raids. Yes, I am. Because everything else is either not a red border or already mentioned before. And moving on, just to cover Eververse while we are here in lots of the store. Now, fair warning, even though the Eververse did upgrade, we so far don't have anything brand new into the seasonal offering, as the Into the Light logo is there, but we see the same usual stuff: Gallahorn, Witcher set, the old Mass Effect set, and lots of the same stuff in the archive, just as a heads up. But on the front page, we actually have a few options. We have Erebos Glance, which is basically the proto Super Black, except it was Super Black plus orange, which doesn't look half bad, except for what doesn't change with any shader. Then we also have Lucid, which is back from Season of the Risen, which I guess is supposed to be Lucid Hive-like. And we also have the Cannon Fodder Transmat, seen many a times where you pop out of a cannon. Now, we do have an ornament for the Recluse, freshly returned to the game, which is the Itsy Bitsy Spider. This is kind of just a, how do I say this, color pattern change. If you would look at regular Recluse, especially revamped Recluse, it does basically just be a color palette or a color design change with either the Crucible Phoenix or a few different other things. Now we also have DIY Forge Master, which is basically the Guardian working on Telesto, and being DIY makes sense what Telesto is always breaking the game. Come to think of it, it has been a while since Telesto had broken anything. Now, while we are still here, of course, the Season of Dawn flashback is still currently active. If you want anything from the old Season of Dawn Battle Pass, I highly recommend getting this if you like glows, because it has one of the best looking glowing armor sets in the game. Run the RGB shader, you will look pretty damn nifty. But into the main store, a few good things here. We have Sunrise Warrior from Season of the Forge. It's not half bad looking. The pink or the magenta is a little bit louder than I would usually recommend, but it still looks good nonetheless. Oiled Gunmetal, which also, again, doesn't look half bad if you're looking for dark tones, but not too shabby. Polished Sea Stone, which I think is the one better for weapons of anything, honestly, just because it's kind of just bright iridescence in dark colors. And we also have Sinking Feeling, the shader that broke the game for a while because it was one of the only live shaders, not to mention a live lightning camo shader, which it still does look pretty good, although I think it does shine a little bit better on weapons than armor. Now for Transmatch, we have Only the Finest, which is kind of a Black Armory, weird Radiance proto nightmare. And we also have the Vex Gateway Arrival from Season of the Dawn, popping out of course, FX Gate. And speaking of Vex, we have the Harpy entrance from Season of the Splicer, popping out of a Gorgon, not a Harpy. And from there, we have the Chicken Dinner emote from Season of the Drifter, which, as you can imagine, is you eating a chicken dinner and just kind of going ham on it and being done. And as well, we have the, again, Season of Dawn armor sets. Now, I have been obviously noticing, as this is week by week, it is different pieces of armor for every respective character for all three classes. So if you want any of this part set for Bright Dust, at least to cheapen the silver cost in total, you can go ahead and just claim it on your own respective characters. Then we also have the Izanagi shell back from Season of the Hunt, which was that weird Izanagi Eververse style. I still wonder how that came up as a decision. And we have the Laser Cutter Jump Ship, which looks like an evil set of Tron alternates, which does still look pretty cool, but at the same time, nothing really beats my Platinum Starling to me. Then we have Lunatic's Legacy, which I'm assuming is supposed to be a very big rocket sparrow that unfortunately isn't faster than anything else on the road. It's just as fast as everything, but you know, it does look pretty cool. And a big thing for today, we have Extravagant Witchcraft, which is a shader essentially new to this season still, so it's one of the relatively new ones, and just black and gold. It looks very clean, nice little, I think, a visual upgrade on 1000 Voices, just because naturally it's just bone. And lastly, as always, the Magic Trick Projection, a just very basic, bland, and boring ghost projection. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if they stopped making them, just because I don't seem to notice any of them really breaking the bank, so to speak. For Banshee's current available weapons, we have Lunalada, a stasis bow we've talked about a lot. Lightweight, nifty, but one I wouldn't recommend in this day and age, especially just because of the fact that it's not so hard-hitting, even though it did just get buffed. Iota Draconis, which is, again, old. I would like to recommend it if it wasn't for the sake it was running on some very old perk pools and high impact. It's hard to say if it really still shines nowadays. Then we have True Prophecy, a hand cannon which, especially with the setup like this, could really shine in Crucible being a kinetic aggressive, and it does have a few other nifty perks that does make it shine in the hand cannon department, but it, again, still quite old. This is season 10 old, and we are on season 23. And Disparity, which is slightly newer, in the same season that Sinking Feeling the Lightning Shader came from, season 19. Pretty nifty. There's solid enough rolls. Stasis, Primary, Aggressive Burst, so it does have Elemental as well as just general Pulse Good Feelings. Although it will have to, compete with Blast Furnace coming soon. Regardless, it is craftable, so I would recommend picking it up if you're looking to craft it. Although, you know, there are other options elsewhere. And same thing with Code Duello. A pretty nifty enough rocket launcher, high impact and solar, is the first of the sticky rocket launchers in Lasting Impression. However, not craftable, and generally there is others that are better. Especially, I think off the top of my head, the one from the Vault of Glass can roll with Lasting Impression, and, well, actually that's just one season older. So, I might be mistaken there. And just wrapping the last couple of things up, Vitrified Duality, a shader from Season of the Dawn as well. Solid enough look, nice gray, goldish, sun-colored. Then Tangled Rust, which is back from Forsaken. It does definitely match what it looks like. You look very fitting to the Tangled Shore when you wear it. As well, New Monarchy Succession, which is another one of those bright New Monarchy ones that, well, this armor set, it looks not so bad because it's red highlight. It does look a lot more red on other armor that is actual full armor, as opposed to, you know, cloth robes and everything like that. And with that, that is pretty much the reset update. Now, of course, I will be covering Into the Light as it comes by. I've already done at least a video on Into the Light basics, as well as the final shape. Of course, check out those videos if you don't mind. Any sort of view, like, subscribe, whatever you do will help the channel a lot. But aside from that, you know, this has been the reset update, and I'll see you in the next video.